This one's for my friends in the United States. I'm currently walking around in the Middle East by myself. Qatar is one of the safest countries in the world, and no, I am not in danger. So these are my views.
Hello everyone, this is Emmanuel Cook. We will be reacting to a new video today, so make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's get into the video.
I don't know why you guys think China is so dangerous. I couldn't agree more with this comment. So many people told me before I left for China that it was going to be so dangerous and oh my god, be careful and all these things, and I can count on one hand how many times I felt unsafe. I would be out with my friends at like 2-3 in the morning, walking on the street, biking through Shanghai, and we were fine. If anything, I feel more on edge walking around New York or San Francisco at times. Obviously you need to practice caution, but you should be fine going to China. And I'm gonna make a whole other video on the welcoming portion, but I couldn't agree more. Chinese people have been the most hospitable group for me.
During my last trip to Japan, I was being followed at the train station. So this is just a little PSA that although the country is still extremely safe, something like this still happens. I've been a dozen times already, solo travel for half of them, and like I've never had an incident like this happen. So basically my fiance and I split. He needed to get some more stuff done, and I was tired for the day. I just wanted to head back to the hotel first. We had bought a big check-in luggage that day, so I was bringing that back as well. Don't know if that put a target on my back. But while I was on the train, a man came and sat next to me. No biggie, you sit next to strangers all the time on trains. I was checking to make sure I knew which exit to take when I got off, and my stop was the final stop. And if I have luggage with me, I usually just prefer to let everyone go ahead of me. That way I'm just not in anyone's way. So I had let everyone get off before me. The man next to me had gone off like quite early on. So it was pretty sus when by the time I got off, he was still just like lingering on the platform. Afterwards, like when I was walking towards the escalator, I was walking pretty slow too, just to like let everyone ahead of me go first. And he was also walking really slow, but I just thought that he was like waiting for a friend or something. So when we got onto the escalator, he had gone on first, and then another guy came and went ahead of me, and then it was me. So I was like, okay, that's his friend. After we got up to the top of the escalators, the guy that was right in front of me that I thought was his friend walked like away, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not his friend. And so when we were walking to tap out from the gate, I was also walking a little slower, but the man that was sitting next to me was also walking really slow, so it was like he was following me but being in front of me, so it was like super weird. So I ignored it. There was a shopping center attached to Osaka Station, and there was a boba shop there that I had seen from the previous day. So I was like, okay, I want to go get us some boba. And so I walked towards what I thought was a shopping center. There was like a wing with like sliding glass doors. So like I walked towards that, but I still see in my peripheral the man just like still following me. So I thought, okay, he's probably going the same direction as me. But after walking in through like the sliding gate into like the wing of the mall, like 100 feet or so, I realized that wasn't it. So I turned around and I walked back the direction I came from, because I'm like, okay, this is not the right way. At that point, when I walked back the same direction that I came from, I crossed paths with the man. And at this point, he stopped and he looked at me, and then he came towards me. And he started talking to me in Japanese. Not sure what he was saying, but he started pointing at my phone and then proceeds to reach his hand out to try and grab my phone. At that moment, I'm like, no. And like he proceeds to like say something, but what I assumed was, oh, like I can help you get to where you need to go, because obviously my phone still had like my GPS map on, and you can see that I'm trying to navigate somewhere with my big luggage. And so I was like, no, it's okay. And like I just started like walking towards where I saw the most people. While I was like walking towards like where I saw the most people, he was still following me. Like I can see from my peripheral that he was still following me. So when I saw a pharmacy inside the station, I just walked towards the pharmacy. After walking into the pharmacy, I would like walk down one of the aisles and then I just like hid behind one of the aisles. I still had a clear view of like the door, or like outside into the station, and I saw that the man was just standing there right in front of the entrance of the pharmacy and just starts like walking back and forth and like pacing, and you can tell like he was contemplating on what to do. So after like a little bit of time has passed, he like decided to just like walk away and leave, but I like stayed there for a little bit longer just to make sure that he like for sure left. And so after that, I like walked out and walked the opposite direction from where he went, and from then on, I'm like just the entire time back to the hotel, I was just like super on edge, just making sure that no one was following me again. So one of the learnings that I had while I was just like replaying everything in my mind was that I should not be looking at instructions or like directions on my phone while I am in really, really close proximity to strangers on the train. Because my fear was, what if he knew where I was going? What if he saw the hotel that I was going to? Because I was like literally sitting right next to him. And if that was an Airbnb and he found out or he saw the address to the Airbnb, I probably wouldn't have gone back to the Airbnb. I would have just went to a cafe and just waited for Johnny to come, and like we walked back together. So the lesson being, if you're ever in Japan and or just like anywhere in general and you're on a train, make sure to not be looking at your GPS when strangers are in very close proximity to where they can possibly see where you're going.
So I've only been to 2 countries in East Africa, Rwanda and Tanzania, and I have felt so safe the entire time. Rwanda especially, like, you don't even really have to worry about petty crime. You can walk alone as a woman at night, never felt unsafe even in the slightest, and they really pride themselves on it being a really safe place. So I think there's like extra, they take a lot of pride in that. Tanzania, I have felt safe the whole time, but I attracted a lot more attention in Tanzania. I mean, obviously I stick out, so that wasn't a surprise, but I've been like followed a couple times, but not in a threatening way at all. If I was followed by someone, it was because they wanted to like sell me something or they wanted to like help me. And most of the time when a local helps you, they expect a tip in return. So it was like someone wanted like my money or my business or something like that, but I've never really had to worry about like, definitely not violent crime. I'm sure it happens, but like I think it's very rare, and I never felt threatened at all. And then petty crime, just like be smart. But I've had my phone in my hand, like I have a little like bum bag like every other tourist does, but I think a lot of it is because their economies rely on tourism, so people in general want tourists to be safe. And my reference is always, is it safer than New York City? Because I go to New York City all the time. I have lots of friends who live there. I was born and raised in Austin, Texas, so like a decently big city, where you have to be aware, I guess, even though it's not particularly unsafe. Like, I feel like if it's just as safe as Austin, then like I feel fine.
Speaking from a British girl in Brazil, I probably feel the safest I've ever been in my life. A lot of people say, oh, be careful in Brazil. I've never felt so safe. A lot of people here have said to me, like, keep your phone secure. I generally couldn't say anything bad. So I might just stay here at this point, I can't lie. I want to go to England.
It just occurred to me as I was putting groceries in my car what it's like to be a woman in America. Out of habit, because I'm by myself, I had my back to my car and I was like picking my groceries up and turning, so that way I was facing what was happening. And I'm like, this is actually so sad that I don't feel safe enough to literally put groceries in my car without facing the parking lot so nobody can like come up behind me. Like, that is literally what being a woman in America is like. It's actually pretty freaking sad.
Guys, every single city in America that I have lived in have always had some sort of violent crime. Always. Even the city that I live in right now. In the past 2 months, 2 older women were burned to death. Can you believe that? One crazy guy out here doing some crazy things. Guys, I don't know what is in the air, especially in the States, but it's crazy, man. I do not know what is going on with Americans. I do not know what is in the air, but guys, we have a serious mental health crisis in the United States.
Okay, so here's a PSA for anyone traveling to Europe this summer. or really anywhere. We just got back from visiting 8 countries, and this was the first and only time that we felt potentially unsafe. It happened in Rome. We had just arrived at our Airbnb, and it was in a super populated, seemingly safe area, like with families walking around. There was a grocery store nearby, bakeries, tons of cars parked everywhere. And we got lucky and parked right in front of the Airbnb because of how crowded it was. After we unloaded all of our stuff, Phil went back out to the car to grab a few more bags when I was inside with the kids. And a man approached him, and he said he was from Uganda, and started talking about how his family was coming to visit and how he supposedly found our same Airbnb listing on booking.com. And then he asked Phil if he could come inside our Airbnb to take a quick peek to see if it was nice enough for his family. Now, obviously, this is where the red flags started. First of all, we booked through Airbnb, not booking.com. I didn't confirm if our listing was on there. But second, why would you ever approach a complete stranger on the street and ask to enter their rental? Phil said the guy was trying to show him things on his phone, like supposedly pictures of his family. Never the listing, just the main booking.com website. And Phil never looked down at the phone once. He kept his eyes on the guy the entire time, which is super important because when you look down at somebody's phone in that type of scenario, that's a classic distraction tactic, especially if someone is nearby, who knows, waiting to catch you off guard. The guy also kept trying to inch closer during the conversation, and Phil made sure to keep a solid distance between them. And every time the guy stepped forward, Phil would take a step back. And then, most importantly, Phil stayed calm, but very firm. He told the guy, "You're a stranger. I don't know you. My family's inside. I paid for the space. You don't have permission to enter. You cannot come in." And the guy just kept pushing and talking more about his family and just saying, "Oh, I'll just come back later then." But Phil obviously shut it down real quick. And that's when the guy's demeanor totally changed. He went from being like super friendly to ice cold, shut down. He walked off without saying a literal word. And here's the thing, these kinds of scams will often start with someone being very nice or relatable. They'll use stories about their family or hardships to catch you off guard and make you feel like you're being rude if you say no. But it's intentional. If you have to protect your space and trust your gut. Phil also told me that he stood in a way where Phil stood in a way where his arms looked relaxed, but it was like up to his chest, but he was actually ready to defend himself if anything happened. It was a sort of like non-obvious ready stance, and we don't know what would have happened if he let the guy in, but it wasn't going to be good. Maybe a robbery, maybe just scoping out the place, to look for a way in. But either way, if somebody ever approaches you while you're traveling and asks to come inside your Airbnb, the answer should always be no. It doesn't matter how nice or how desperate they seem. Stay alert. Don't get distracted. Always keep a good distance. I've never heard of this type of scam before, so I wanted to share just in case, somebody else encounters this. But yeah, very, very strange. Also, when people approach you and it's getting to a point where it's uncomfortable, you don't owe them a conversation. You can shut down the conversation from the very beginning with a simple no thank you. Don't feel like you have to listen to the entire sob story. Cut them off real quick if you feel uncomfortable. Like, don't let these people take control of the situation.
A quick reminder, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and let's continue the video.
So this might not be the answer that most people might think I might say, but my answer is actually no. The thing with Japan is like it is so quiet that it's almost spooky. When you walk through the neighborhoods, the residential areas, it is so quiet. Like you do not hear any noise from coming out of the streets, coming from people's homes. So it's just like kind of ghost town. So it just makes you even more cautious of your surroundings. I actually did my first like night walk with my headphones on, noise cancelling, months ago when I first arrived in Japan to just like clear my head when I was like hella sad. But that was literally the first and last time, because I just could not stop turning around and like being aware of my surroundings. A very fond memory I have as a child when I used to visit Japan to visit my grandparents when I was younger was like, you know, I'd be in the common space in the living area in the morning when I'd wake up, and the news would be running on the telly, and literally like some of the news I remember hearing as a child was the most horrific, disturbing thing I have ever heard of. There's things you would never hear on Australian news. I think some people really put Japan on this pedestal, and I'm not saying that it is a very safe country 100% compared to America. Like, I would never take Japan for granted and where I am and my circumstances, but this is just my personal opinion. I actually do not feel safe walking through Japan as a young female. There are some very creepy men in Japan. Obviously every country is like this. I'm just saying, personally, I don't feel the safest. Like, I definitely don't wear noise cancelling headphones if I'm walking from the station late at night. And I have had a creepy incident actually happen to me once, where these group of boys, I guess it was like my gut instinct in that moment, I just knew something was weird, like I was being watched. Something in my gut was telling me, do not get off at your station, do not get off at your station. So I actually missed my station, and I got off at a station 2 stops later, and these boys all got off at the same station. And in that moment I just knew something was off, because it looked really like, I don't know, they definitely didn't give off vibes like they were actually planning on getting off there. The weirdest thing is when they got off the cart, they actually got off the cart in front of me. So when we got off the station and we were exiting the station, they were actually in front of me, but one of the boys decided to sit on the floor and retie his shoelaces so that I would eventually walk past them and leave the station before them. That was the second red flag, and I just knew to not walk away from the station. So I actually literally went around to the other side of the station, the opposite side, going back into the city, and I literally headed back into the city. Like, I avoided going back to mine, and thankfully they saw that I was very aware of what was happening, but that was really, really scary. But maybe because I come from Australia, I definitely feel more safe in Australia. Yeah, obviously everyone's experience is different depending on what country you're coming from, but as an Australian, yeah, that's my opinion.
All right, guys, I actually plan to visit Japan and see one of my friends who lives over there. I haven't seen this kid since like 8th grade or something like that. But guys, she is absolutely right. At night, that place gets so quiet, it's actually crazy. Like, it is super safe, but it's like too safe. It's like too quiet. You know what I'm saying? And when things are too quiet, people get paranoid.
So let's talk about safety in India, because I feel like this is kind of the main topic that people are concerned about when they're traveling to India. So I didn't solo travel in India at all. I was with my friend, and she's also American. So we did a lot of research going into this, and we were a bit nervous because of the things that we heard. And I will say overall that I felt much more safe than I anticipated. We heard so many horror stories about traveling in India, but we were still keeping an open mind. And I will say that I feel like we had so many more positive experiences there than anything negative. Most people are so hospitable there, super friendly, extremely helpful. India unfortunately has a really bad reputation among a lot of people, but I think if you keep an open mind and you stay positive, you're kind to others, you look for good in other people, then your experiences are going to reflect back on that. I'm not saying nothing bad can ever happen, but I think if you have good boundaries, you take basic safety precautions and use your intuition and judgment well. So going into India, we had heard so much of, oh, the staring, people won't leave you alone. Like, my friend is blonde. We heard that, oh, people are going to touch her hair and grab her hair. Everyone's going to take pictures of you, you know. And I feel like our experiences was like pretty much the opposite of that, especially we first got to Delhi, and honestly, no one was really paying attention to us. And we're like, okay, this is like the opposite of what we expected. When we went to the Taj Mahal, like, no one took pictures with us at all. We were kind of like, heck, no one wants pictures with us? But there were a few towns where people did ask for pictures, and I feel like everyone was like really respectful. Like, no one was trying to like sneak anything. Like, people always just came up and asked and were like very nice about it. So I didn't really feel uncomfortable with that. You also get treated a bit differently depending on what part you're in. So if you're in a big city like Delhi or Mumbai and it's a bit more progressive, you're going to get treated a little bit differently than the smaller towns who don't see as many tourists. So I feel like that's where we got more of like the staring, but I feel like people are just more interested in you than anything. It's not anything harmful. It is good to research some of the common scams there so you can just identify them, but I didn't feel like a lot of people were trying to scam us, and if we kind of had that intuition that that was happening, we kind of just shut it down and stopped talking to people pretty quickly. I feel like most of the time when people talk to us, like, they were just curious and being friendly. They just want to know where you're from and about your experience in India. So I definitely felt like a majority of our conversations, it wasn't people like trying to scam us or anything like with ill intention. I think people are generally so kind and nice there. I will say that I noticed when we were with our white male friends that they were treated quite differently than us. Males are just respected more there, especially when we're in the smaller towns. Like, if we would go out to eat, the waiters wouldn't really address us, and they would expect our male friends to order for us, which is a little difficult to get used to, and it took a while. And I feel like our male friends were just a lot more free and felt like they could do whatever they wanted there, whereas me and my female friend were a lot more cautious and took a lot more safety precautions. But unfortunately, it's kind of like typical anywhere with traveling, where I feel like females take more precautions. Dressing modestly is very important in India. You should have your shoulders and knees covered at all times, especially in the smaller towns. Like, I would see some tourists wearing like crop tops and short shorts. Just don't do that here. You know, just the basic things like that. You got to stay respectful to the country and culture, and you're going to get unwanted attention. So something to keep in mind. And just be assertive. If someone is like badgering you about something, you really have to say no. Like, look them in the eyes, say no, like, because they will keep going for that. So you just kind of have to be a little bit more assertive than you're used to. And I kind of felt rude at first, but it's kind of one of those boundaries that you have to have when you're there, or else people will keep on. Like, especially in markets or shops, anywhere someone's trying to sell you something, tuk-tuk drivers, you have to be like very assertive, or else they're gonna keep badgering you about it. Be careful at night. Don't walk around at night alone. Just the basic things that kind of apply to anywhere. I think the most uncomfortable I felt was definitely during Holi. We were in Pushkar, and it was me and my female friend, and we were with a group of, I think we were with like 6 or 7 males. So if you're in Holi, I would definitely suggest going with a group of males. I've heard really negative experiences about there, so I didn't have anything like any groping or anything like that happen, but it was very overwhelming at times, and people like very much in your face, and that was a little uncomfortable, but that was kind of the worst I felt there. I also wouldn't choose India as like a first time travel experience. I have been to 40 countries, so I think having previous travel experience is pretty crucial, because you need to learn that boundary between being open and also not being naive, which if you've solo traveled, I think you kind of understand what I'm talking about, that like you want to be open to meeting new people, you want to be open to new experiences, but you have to be cautious and like aware of your safety and surroundings at all times. So I think developing that discernment and judgment is really important before you get to India, because that's going to be extremely useful when you are trying to meet new people and get the best like local immersive experience you can while also maintaining your safety. Another thing that's a little bit different when you're traveling in India is that there's just men everywhere. There is not as many women on the street. So there's just so many men. I remember like being like, by the end of it, I was like, I'm just so sick of seeing men. I miss women. So that's a little something that takes getting used to. Personally, I don't think I would ever solo travel in India. I felt a lot more comfortable being with someone else. I feel like the extra attention you get is like very overwhelming when I was walking by myself, but I feel like when I was with someone else, I felt a lot more comfortable with that, and I felt a lot more safe. And I do feel like less people approached me when I was with my friend as to when I was walking around solo. So I feel like with anywhere with traveling, use your discernment, use judgment, use your intuition. If something feels off, just get out of the situation, make up a lie, anything. Like if you feel a conversation's getting uncomfortable, if they're like asking you where you're staying at or anything like too personal, make an excuse, lie. It's really important to keep good boundaries.
One thing that I've noticed is a big topic is the safety here. Whenever I told people, oh, I'm moving to Colombia for a few months, my whole family, even some of my friends were like, oh my gosh, like be careful, it's unsafe, blah, blah, blah. As I'm walking to the nail shop by myself, usually I probably would have taken an Uber, but I've been here 3 weeks now. I've never felt unsafe. The area where I'm staying is super residential, as you can see. There's kind of police everywhere as well. And I think it's a situation where it's very much like you just have to keep your wits about you like any other place. Maybe here I've noticed that I just cut down on my jewelry. I don't walk around with my phone out all the time like I'm doing now. Yeah, you just choose not to wear certain things, you know. Another tip that I have is that you only take enough cash that you need, and you only take one card that you need, you know, like just in case anything happens, robbed or whatever, they're only gonna get one card and like a day's worth of cash.
But guys, overall, if you're in poor areas of any place really, that place is going to have a lot of crime. If you're in the rich, well-lit, well-guarded areas, then there will be a lot less crime. Though crime can still happen in really rich areas, but it is very uncommon. So wherever in this world that you go to the rich areas.
I'm aware that my content really kind of glamorizes the lifestyle in France, and I only focus on the really aesthetically pleasing aspects. So I thought it was important to balance that with the reality. And that reality is that as a woman, I quite rarely feel really safe in Paris. Like, there's so many things I used to do in Australia so casually, I would never have to think twice about doing it. I could be barely focused on my whereabouts, I could be looking at my phone. I'm truly not exaggerating when I say that every time I leave the house by myself for more than 5 minutes, something kind of scary happens. Every single time I'm riding my bike alone or walking, someone kind of like slows down next to me on their car or motorbike or bicycle just to like kind of follow me around. And every time I'm walking, I have people actually follow me, which is quite scary. As a prime example, like where I'm walking right now isn't the safest area. There's not a lot of lights, and basically some guy just started running towards me and he kept yelling, "Madam, madam, madam," and then I just did the whole Parisian approach and just completely acted like he didn't exist. But he kept getting closer to me, so I ended up just running away. So yeah, it's pretty scary to be kind of like chased by someone who's yelling at you and you don't really know what they want. There's so much theft here too that you really have to second guess what you are wearing. If you're wearing a nice bag or nice jewelry. Yeah, and then public transport is a whole nother thing. I really don't feel safe taking the train by myself or even the bus, particularly if it's nighttime. And what's really sad is whenever my boyfriend's with me, I don't have a single problem in the world. I guess it's just the sad reality of being a woman in this day and age. So stay safe, ladies, but if you want to move to Paris, do keep that in mind.
Please be careful when you're traveling in London, especially when it's at night or busy times like the weekends. My friend had his phone pickpocketed from him on Saturday at around 11:30 to 11:34 p.m. We just stopped at a corner shop, Charing Cross Food and Wine, just to get some pre-drinks because we were on our way to a club. And as we walked out of the shop and we were looking for the directions towards the club, I was checking on my phone. And as he checked his pockets because he was going to check his phone, he realized that his phone had been stolen. The first thing I thought to do was to check the Find My app, and we saw that the location of his phone was moving. So we chased it up the road. We ran from Charing Cross Food and Wine all the way to Wingstop, and about there is where we called the phone, went straight to voicemail. Called it a second time, no response, and when we checked the Find My, as like 3 minutes had gone by, the location didn't move, so we realised that the thief had taken his phone. You would think that even though with an iPhone, logging into the iCloud and locking the phone, that you can't use it, it's basically pointless to someone that's stolen it. People are still idiots and stealing phones, and it leaves people feeling really inconvenienced. Just make sure that when you're traveling, you don't leave any of your valuables in your pockets. Even if it has a zip, it's too much of a risk. Because my friend said that in hindsight, he did kind of feel like as if someone was brushing past him kind of thing, like softly. But obviously he didn't realize that he was being robbed until it was too late. For me, when I'm outside, I always use my phone in my sleeve. So pretend this is my phone. I always have it in my sleeve like this when I'm using it. Make sure you have like your fingers around the corners. This is the vulnerable part that can be stolen. Make sure you really like grip the corners when you're using the phone, and on top of that have a wrist strap. I don't go anywhere without my phone wrist strap. This would always be connected to my phone. Obviously this is not a phone, but just pretend that it is, because if you're using the method of wearing the wrist strap as well as holding the phone from inside, that's giving you 2 layers of protection. Even if someone thinks they're going to phone snatch, you've still got the wire, you've still got the second hand, you've got time to swing. The more difficult that you make it for the thief, the more likely it's going to deter them from taking your phone. Because if that person feels like they're going to have to struggle, they're going to have to fight you, they're going to have to really tug, it's not going to be worth their time. Whereas someone who might have their phone in a pocket, someone thinks that will be an easy moment to just steal. I just wanted to post this to spread awareness, because just in case you think that people aren't still pickpocketing or phone snatching isn't happening as much, don't think that it couldn't happen to you or someone close to you. All I can say is that just make sure when you're traveling you have your wits about you. Be aware of your surroundings. Make sure that all your valuables and personal items are not on display and they're not in your pockets. Try and keep your bag at the front. Some people even wear their backpack forward. Just be careful, stay safe, still enjoy yourself. Just make sure that you're aware of what's going on. Remember to invest in something like a phone strap. Make sure that you use your phone in your sleeve if you need to use your phone when you're out, and try to avoid having it on display. And yeah, just be careful. Have a blessed day.
Okay, yes, so this is a great question. This was actually one of my first questions when we were planning the trip, because my friend Diana, I will tag her below, she was the one who chose Jordan. Now, originally, we were going to be psychopaths, we were going to be a little crazy and, like, chance it and go to Israel, but after praying about it, we were just like, maybe not. And so, in essence, like, long story short, it is safe. Both her and I and her husband Steve can testify to the fact that we actually felt safer in Jordan than we did in Greece, actually, like walking around Athens. And to be honest, like, the Middle Eastern countries, other countries, they love the American passport, and I could be oblivious to certain things, but also, granted, I know that my skin color and the fact that I'm a girl might give me an advantage to that, so I'm not, like, throwing it around. Everyone's gonna have different experiences, but our personal experience was we did feel safe. I talked about this in one of my other videos about visiting Jordan, but Jordan is a Muslim country, and the Muslim people that we encountered in the country were some of the nicest, most hospitable, most caring people that we had ever met. And they're also just really desperate for tourists. And so, to put it into perspective, 95 to 99% of their income comes from tourism, and they usually have like 3 to 7,000 visitors a day at Petra, at least. And now they're down to 200 to 300. And so these people, like, are desperate. They want help. Their government is not helping them. And the way that one of our bus drivers had explained it was the fact that in their country, their whole family will be put to shame if a crime was committed by somebody in the family. And so that deters a lot of people from committing crime, because 1, everyone's going to know about it. 2, they're going to punish you. And then 3, your whole family's going to be put to shame. So yes, definitely would recommend going right now, especially while the prices to get over there are a little bit cheaper. And to wrap it up, we did not feel unsafe whatsoever.
Guys, there has been a huge shift in safety around the world. We have seen a huge spike in crime in the Western countries, but in the Eastern countries, crime is actually reducing. And it's a very strange phenomenon, in my personal opinion, only because the media actually tells us that these other foreign countries are very unsafe. But overall, you really have to go there and actually experience the country for yourself first, and then make a judgment on that country. But a lot of foreign countries are becoming a lot more safe in comparison to the Western countries.
This one's for my friends in the United States. I'm currently walking around in the Middle East by myself. Qatar is one of the safest countries in the world, and no, I am not in danger. So these are my views. This video has over 3 million views and around 300,000 likes as of June 20th, and I posted it about 2 weeks ago. I fear we might have missed the mark on the purpose. This video was about the United States propaganda, not necessarily Qatar's policies. I grew up always hearing that the Middle East was bad, and in reality, the Middle East is composed of many different countries and cultures. My goal of this page is to show you that you don't just have to go to Europe to have a dream vacation. To answer some FAQs, no, there are not people in this video, but yes, there were people around me. There were 2 different sidewalks. I was walking near the city. Everyone else was walking near the water. I don't like filming in public. I'm very awkward, and I don't want to talk in front of other people. No, I am not AI. I am a real person. The background is not AI either. Y'all are talking to me like I am not in the LGBT community, okay? Listen, use your best judgment while traveling. Don't go anywhere where you feel your personal safety is at risk. It's just not worth it. While this video was not about how dangerous the US is, the most dangerous place I've ever traveled to is the United States. And yes, I can walk down the street by myself as a woman in the United States and feel safe. You can have both. This video is not about Qatar's policies, but I do like that we're talking about human rights as a whole in my comment section. I think it's very important. However, as Americans, it's very easy to point fingers at other countries and say, oh, they should be doing this, they should be doing this, these people don't have rights, blah, blah, blah. I cannot emphasize this enough. We live in a country with extreme racism, homophobia, xenophobia, gun violence, and our country, even the White House, was built on the backs of slaves. I don't even want to touch on the prison industrial complex and how that is related to modern day slavery. But we have a lot of problems in our own country that we can focus on. This video specifically was just showing that you can go to Qatar, you can go to the Middle East and be safe in parts of the Middle East. The comment section under that video is whack. Y'all are crazy. Like, can we just can we be kind? Is that too much to ask for? I think it is. But I feel like we comment on people's videos not knowing that they're like real people behind these accounts. Like, I'm not just some like mega influencer. I had 300 followers when I posted that video, most who are my family and friends. Now I have 11,000. So I'd like to use my platform to show people that you can travel to new places, you can do new things, you can talk about politics, and you don't have to be an asshole.
So I love South Africa, I really do, but all I want to do right now is go for a late night, midnight walk, clear my head, but I can't do that because I have to be scared of being fucking robbed or whatever. So I'm literally just walking on the inside of the fence from my fenced and guarded residence. Yeah, this is the vibe. This is the vibe right now. I'm really, really enjoying my late night walk as a prisoner. Yeah, sucks, honestly, it sucks.
I appreciate you guys watching the video today. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.